So, May, tell us about how you ended up coming to Rocky Mount. What was that
Well,
all connection? You're a New York native, right?
my sister-in-law, Helen Gay, right?
Yes, I
The
remember Helen.
first time I came down here was to campaign for her.
Okay. Really? Okay. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Well, you see, she was running against a very strong candidate,
Right.
And she was worried about she'll be the first lady.
Uh-huh.
So
Well,
I said, I'll come.
yeah.
See, that's my husband's sister,
Right.
Ron.
And we have a train station named for Helen now.
Yes, yes. And so I came down to help her on her campaign.
Okay.
And I said, give me a list of all your friends.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I have a long list. I said, well, I need the list, right?
More the merrier, right?
So when she gave me the list, I went back to New York and I called each one up.
Uh-huh.
They thought I was somebody from New York on a special campaign up there and
Okay.
just asking them questions.
Right.
So they was excited to tell me the truth.
Oh, well, that just made it interesting.
And they said, we don't like her.
Wow.
So I said, okay. Everybody gave me a reason why they didn't like her.
Okay.
I put an X by them.
Okay.
So when I came back here to campaign for her, I said, now we can't depend on none of these people.
Right.
Well, she was very disappointed.
Well, but you know what? You need to know that when you're running because
and
it
so
really is
then
about.
I said, well, you can't be disappointed.
Right.
You just got to go with what I tell you to do, right?
Uh-huh.
And so then my husband, I sent him down to get at that time you could vote citywide.
Okay. Everything was at large.
Yes. And he came down and got all the people registered to vote that had never voted in their life.
Okay.
And so it went from there. And the mayor Turnage at that time, he was fascinated with me, right? And he was begging me from that moment to come down. I said, never, never will I. So then eventually, over the years, my husband wanted to come home. He retired from Albert Einstein Medical College.
Okay.
And he was at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why don't we had bought this little house that we are now living in. And so we came down, I thought for a short period of time to help his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got here, she was such a wonderful lady. She lived to be 99 and a half. And she taught me
6 months, all we needed, right?
Yes. And she taught me all about the people of Rocky Mount. And so I was fascinated with that, right? And I said, well, it's a small little town. I could go there and do well.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of the night, we moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came here, I knew then that I wasn't going to stay. And he was...
Now, why is that? I mean, so you were fascinated. You decided to try it. You said, oh, no, this is not going to work.
It was totally what I hadn't imagined. Right?
I understand.
And so then he was always so afraid, Ron, my husband, he was so afraid that I would go back.
Okay.
So he always tried to keep me here. So I got involved. The streets and the old houses were very in bad shape. So I thought I could dress up, put on his shoes, a lot of makeup, and I would go out and clean the streets up.
Okay.
And so I met some of the most fascinating people by just cleaning the streets up.
Right.
And I would do that from early morning until after lunch.
Well, we'll say literally cleaning up the streets in this case, but you have figuratively done that too in a lot of ways. But
And then after that, it was one project after another. One lady that I always remember, she used to sit in her door and throw things in the yard.
Okay.
So,
like apples or like trash?
Oh,
or
yeah, trash.
anything?
She'd just throw it out of the door.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I'm going to clean up her yard, plant some flowers. And then when I did all that for her, and I asked her, would she please not do that anymore? And she thought I was a prisoner. So she says, I won't do that because I'm going to call them up and tell them that you are the best prisoner, and maybe they'll give you some time off. So I was fascinated by that, right? I just thought I had reached a certain goal.
Yeah.
And then Mayor Turnage always tried to encourage me to stay here.
Sure.
And I just got involved in everything that I thought I could. I overloaded myself over the years.
Right.
But it was wonderful. Like when I was in New York, I was into everything. It was unbelievable. I used to tell people, there isn't a thing in New York that I don't know about. I haven't been there.
Well, now that's scary, but anyway.
Yes. But that's the way I was. I stayed busy all the time. Worked on Wall Street for over 20 plus years. And at first, the most amazing thing about Wall Street, I worked for the United States Chamber of Commerce, right? And we were taught to be stiff and very strict. So I go to Wall Street and I said, I want to speak to Mr. Dean Witter.
Okay. Well, if you're going to do it, let's just go to the top.
So I had my briefcase with me, right? And so the manager, he started laughing. He said, hell, all of us want to speak to Mr. Dean Witter. He had been dead for years.
Right, I know.
I didn't know any better.
Well.
So without a doubt, they hired me. I didn't know anything about Wall Street, but they just hired me. And all the employees, because they didn't dress up then on Wall Street. They just came to work, probably stayed all night because that's the way it was.
Right.
And they all thought that I was a spy.
Well.
So they all became better employees, right?
Right. No, I get it. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So I went from on Wall Street, once I learned, there was a guy named David Scott. Everybody on Wall Street knew him. He was a genius. And he would teach you how to manage on Wall Street. So he fell in love with me to teach me because he thought I was going to marry him, right?
Okay.
So he taught me everything. And then I decided that it's time that I leave because
it's getting a little weird.
So I left there and I went to another house, went to Prudential Beach.
Okay.
And from there, I went to Payne Weber.
Right.
That's where I retired from.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so it was about that time then, I guess you came down to Rocky Mount? Or,
yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, after I retired. Well, I only retired because Ron had retired. And I figured, okay, I'll go and see what it's all about. I can always come back to Wall
That's
Street.
exactly right. The road goes both directions.
And so when I got here, after I started finding things to do, then I fell in love with it.
Sure. Well, it's about relationship, right? And I don't know anybody who exemplifies relationship better than you. You know, meeting people, understanding, you know, trying to help guide, push, prod, you know, whatever it takes to try to better people around you.
Everybody thought that I should, my sister-in-laws, they would say, you shouldn't do those things, right? You're disgracing the family. I said, really? You know, the paper in the street,
right,
disgraceful. So I'm just picking it up, right? So I got connected with every organization here in Rocky Mount. And I just went from one to the other.
Right.
And then Rocky Mount became part of me, right? I just thought, okay, I could stay there for the rest of my life. And here I am.
And here you are.
Yeah.
And thank you for making that decision. My life has certainly been enriched by it.
I love to campaign, right?
I know you do.
That is I first started out at National Scream.
Okay.
That was a motion picture company, right? And my supervisor knew Mayor Lindsay. They were friends. And when Mayor Lindsay was running, he told me to go down and help him. Well, I didn't know anything about campaigning.
So that was your first at bat.
First one, and I loved it. And we got him in, and then we got him in the second time. And then it became part of me.
Right.
I just thought that is the greatest thing you could do is campaign for someone you have faith in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that does matter. It does make a difference. It really does.
And so when I came here, there was Mayor Turnage on his last term. You know, he never campaigned until the last term of his election.
Look, Mae, I thought the mayor was an appointed thing when I was a kid. I mean, I don't know another mayor other than Mayor Turnage. And he's been there for close to 40 years. I thought he was just born into it, and that's just how that worked. I didn't even know it was an elected position.
That's right, because he used to go on vacation when it was time for campaigning.
Well, Lord knows if I could do that, I sure would too.
I hope so, Sandy. I think you're very much like him. He was a people person.
Right. Thank you.
And he loved the people, and he, I think he went to everybody's birthday party, right? Because he loved to eat now, right?
Well, you look at me, you can tell I'm not scared of it.
But he was just a lovely person, and I thought he should remain that until he passed.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think one of his magic was that he was able to bring people together to generally try to work out challenges and issues, and did it probably as well, if not better, than most people who ever get to that place.
Yeah, and he was just, Rocky Mount was part of him, right?
Right.
And our last campaign, it was really tough.
Right.
It was tough because he was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Because
had he gotten sick by that time? Was he was?
He hadn't really
maybe
announced that he was sick. I think he knew that something was coming on.
Right.
So he thought he would get out while he could.
Sure.
Right? And then the other candidate went down and applied the same time that he did.
Okay.
So we thought, oh, this is not going to...
Game's on.
So I told him always, don't be afraid.
Right.
We're going to make it.
Well, I don't even remember that last election. I know he won. I don't remember him ever having a close race. I don't even remember 3 opponents ever.
What, with him?
Yeah, with him. I remember Ruben ran against him one time.
Yeah, that was the time. That was his last time
That
around.
was the last time. Okay. All right.
That was the last time.
Okay, I got it.
And so I knew that he was going to win.
Yeah, sure. Well, I get it.
And he did. And it was so funny. A lot of people were against him, right?
Sure.
But the night that he won, so everybody went to his house, right? To all the ones that didn't want her. And I said, Mayor, you know what? Let's fix them where they're all get arrested, right? And he started laughing. And so Mrs. Turner, she always asks me, what were you laughing so much about? Because he got hysterical laughing.
Right.
He was quite delightful,
Yeah.
the mayor,
Absolutely. So you've also worked on like Jimmy Carter's campaign back in the day?
Yes. I worked it. That was the first presidential campaign that I worked on. And after that was President Obama twice.
Right.
Now, I wasn't going to go for President Obama, right?
Really?
I was going to go for Hillary.
Okay, so you were a Hillary girl to start with out of the gate.
Yes, and my husband said, there's never going to be a lady president in your time. So give Barack a chance, right?
Okay.
So he died, and I thought, tribute to him, I changed up.
Okay, got it.
And I organized Obama's campaign right here in my house in Rocky Mount.
Well, Obama had 2 very successful campaigns back to back to back. Really did a lot of things right. And was successful.
He was very good.
Yes.
Michelle came here, and
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, she came here for the junior high school. She was at.
Okay.
We were going to have her at the Dunn Center, but then they thought maybe not. So then we had her there, and with so many people, they was thinking that there wouldn't be that many people, and they didn't want to be embarrassed, right?
Well, that's always a concern, right?
Yes.
It's always a concern. You throw a party, you hope everybody shows up, and generally it happens, but you never know until it starts happening.
And there were people in all outdoors. Every room in the school was filled.
So every fear was allayed, and it was just a wonderful celebration.
Like that, right? And she was so happy and so gracious. She went all to the places and finally came to the auditorium. Right. Yeah.
So what's been your favorite project? You've done so many things. You've worked with the Hall of Fame. You have and continue to work with so many other organizations. What's been your favorite, just off the top of your head? I know there's probably not one, but what comes to mind?
The favorite was Keep American Beautiful.
Okay.
I loved working with Keep American Beautiful.
Okay, back to the street sweeping and cleaning, right? Okay, I got it. It's in your blood.
And not only that, once a year we went on a tour throughout the entire city.
Okay.
And we would mark whichever was the highest and litter.
Okay.
We did that.
Well, walk me through that process, because that's one of the constant concerns I get even today. litter, 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 litter. And I agree. It's terrible and it's bad and it needs to be resolved. And it really belongs to all of us. The city can't possibly get it all done all the time. However, it is a problem. So how was that campaign successful?
Well, this is what we did. We had cleanups and we would do it with the community leaders, right?
Okay.
Each community leader would do a cleanup.
It's like neighborhood presidents, of which you served many, many years as yours.
30 plus years.
Right.
So we would do cleanups in your neighborhood. You could go to the Keep American Beautiful and get your bags and your pickup sticks.
Okay.
And we would clean up. And it was known that we were cleaning up highways and streets and everything. We used the most funniest thing, and I keep telling the people this, don't be on the railroad track, right? Now, there was a group of us, we just would clean up our city, period. On the railroad track, we were cleaning one day because somehow or another it seemed that people would throw the trash on the railroad track.
Okay.
So we were down there cleaning the tracks, and the guy came on that.
Oh yeah, the car that the push car thing, whatever that's called.
He was coming and swearing, and we said, "Well, he's crazy or something, right?"
Yeah.
So he was trying to tell us how dangerous that was to
Okay.
be on the track cleaning up the paper, because he said when the train comes in, it can't stop if you
But
see
it's
it.
not like it sneaks up on you either. I mean, you can hear it from miles away.
But most people won't pay attention to that, he
Well,
thought.
Okay.
And so he said, it is dangerous to be on the track. And so we said, we were kind of angry that he was bullying us off the track.
Yeah.
We said, well, will you clean it up? He said, yes, from here on out, you will not see any trash. And we never have seen it.
How about that?
Yeah, because he felt like he couldn't convince us how dangerous that was. So he decided.
You picked up another volunteer on that deal.
Yes, we did.
and he didn't know it when he came down to chastise y'all.
He did. Yeah, I just told a group not too long ago about on the tracks. It's very dangerous to be on the track. I've seen 2 people here get killed by the train.
Wow.
One old lady, she used to walk every day, and she would never want to ride. You would ask her for a ride and it's raining. She didn't want to ride. So one morning, she just was walking. And when the train came, it hit her.
Oh.
She was flying up in the air.
Oh, God, that's a visual I don't need.
Yeah. And so that's how dangerous, And then another young fellow, well, he purposely walked in the train. He had lost his friend, so he decided to end his own life.
Yeah, well, that's a short-term decision that has a long-term consequence.
But back to the litter, I think that if you would get each community stirred up again, right? Somehow since the pandemic, we lost a lot of caring.
Right, or sense of community maybe, because we were all isolated. That's true.
Yeah, and so people were afraid. They didn't want to know they were afraid. So if each community would decide that they would clean up their community. The city can't do it all. And we have to convince them that the city didn't put the paper there and they can't do it all.
Right.
So if each community, we have quite a few community leaders, each one would designate or time of the month that they would clean up their area. And we used to do that. And then I would put people in the back of my truck, and we would ride around, and you would see the difference. The difference were amazing to see no paper.
Oh, I can only imagine what that would look
if you don't see any paper at all, it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the same thing like on Holly Street. That was the worst houses on Holly Street.
Well, that has been cleaned up. And, that's a great example of a public-private partnership.
Yes.
That has created affordable housing that looks great. And that's been done for what, 10 years now? 10, 15? It's been a while.
Yeah. And I think it has maintained itself, right?
Right.
You know that, wow, somebody here cares, right?
Right. Well, one of the things I hear all the time is gentrification. It's going to push people out of their houses. Things become so expensive when you do that. But that's exactly a case where it's done exactly what it was intended to do.
Yeah.
Affordable housing that looks great, that's improved the neighborhood dramatically, and has not pushed people out because things have gone so crazy.
Yeah. And one time when I came here, is when I first came here, we had a store in the community.
Right.
That's a no-no.
Right.
Because
it was a corner store, just for everybody's listening.
And everybody go there, and it just got outrageous, right? So I went to the owner.
People hanging outside, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, hanging out, doing illegal things. So I go to the owner, and he tells me, I'll give you some flower seeds to plant.
Okay. Now, how's that going to resolve your problem with a bunch of people loitering around?
He said, because that's all you do is clean up. Oh, he made me angry then, right?
Oh, I bet he did. Damn, that's like drawing the line in the sand, wasn't it?
So we went to court. I took him to court.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first time when he walks in there in the court, we were all there, and he said, hello, Judge so-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, God, we lost this case already. He know the judge, right?
Yeah.
So over the time, we lost that time. So the next time, I documented everything that was going on.
Sure.
And
so I guess that looked like people loitering around, maybe drinking outside without permits, and maybe even some illicit activities or whatever that may be.
And so when I went back to the court, I had a folder, and I had the progress in it and the disparities.
Right.
So I asked the court.
Same judge?
Same judge.
Okay, good. Makes the story better.
But I asked the clerk of court to go in there, and would you tell the judge to give me 2 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
He said, are you sure, Miss Parker? He said, why don't you ask for 5 minutes? Because if you say 2, that's all he's going to give you. I said, I don't need but 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
So you go in, the judge said, yeah, what do you got for me this time?
Yeah.
So I told him the progress we've made and what we need to do. These people deserve to live better than this, Your Honor. Mm-hmm. And he looked through it. He said he couldn't deny the improvement because I showed him what it was before.
Sure.
So we went back before him, and the court resumed, and we won.
How about that?
So
what did the win look like? When like the store closed, or they were enforcement tore it down? Oh, so it just went away.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had and immediately Joyce Dickens. Do you know her?
I do know Joyce. In fact, her son Terrence and I went to the Catholic school together, and I have known him since I was maybe in 2nd grade.
Is he the one that passed away?
No, he's still with us.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good. That's
just
good.
retired, I believe.
I think that was her brother.
Right, maybe. Yeah.
So we tore it down immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And the store had to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they built a house there.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right on that corner where that store was for years.
Okay.
My husband told me years ago that store was the radio for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had a paper to come out, and if you had done anything, what you tried to do is go get all the papers.
Okay.
Because you might be in there doing something.
Okay, got it. I understand now.
So he said, you're having the whole history. I said, well, that's good, because it turned out to be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the guy that was part of that store, he offered me that morning. I guess he felt like I was going to win that day.
Sure.
Because I didn't give up.
Right.
He offered me a suitcase of money to just go and do what you want to do. He said, just leave us alone. And I said, take your dirty money. I don't want it.
Well, the story is really about perseverance and the impact of that, and being faithful to a cause and the process, and never, ever give up. Right.
Yes. So we were on the money there. Then Joyce Dickens started building all those houses there. We got the old warehouse torn down.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we was one spot on the corner. There used to be a store also.
Okay.
Well, the gentleman had passed on. He left it to his son. Well, that particular son had passed.
Okay.
And so I made a deal. Peter Verney, we always made deals.
Okay.
So I said, you know what, Peter? We'll just make sure we clean up this lot and just keep cleaning it up, right? Because the other son, he was the stepson, he wanted us to build him a house under the ground there.
Okay.
So we say, no way.
Yeah, Okay. I mean, our water table's too high to even consider that, but that's a whole nother conversation.
But after so many years, us keeping the lot clean, the grass cut, then we were able to get that lot and to build the house there.
That is outstanding.
Yeah. So all those things were just so beautiful. And Peter, for some reason, he would never tell me he was going to do something, but he always did it, right?
Right.
So we did a lot of projects.
Well, that's
together.
always been Peter's first love, right? Is redevelopment and affordable housing and beautifying and rejuvenating neighborhoods where it makes sense. And I think that's clearly still his love. And I know that it's yours.
Yep. And he's so quiet about things, but he get it done, right?
Right.
He knows how to
that's
get
the
it
best
done.
way, right?
Yes.
Just do your
He
job.
never say I'm going to do it or not going to do it. He just do it, right? Yeah. And another great project that I thought of somehow is I'm reading a book about Mrs. Coretta King.
Okay.
And we had taken the statue down because there was a great problem with that.
Well, the likeness wasn't to everybody's desire, I guess.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable.
Right.
The council took a recess and went in the back. I told them how important it was that we get it back up there because we were honoring the community.
Right.
And they went in the back and they came back and they said, okay. They said, we'll put it back up there, but we got to put it back in the budget, right? Because they had taken it all down.
That's right. I remember.
Now, out of the clear blue sky, there were some gentlemen. They were there for some other reason. The audience was filled. So they stood up and say, we will put it back up there.
Okay.
Okay? No charge to the city.
How about that?
So
well,
I don't know.
That's answered prayer, if you ask me.
Yes. And we never mentioned the names, right? We just said, let's get it back up there. Yeah. We don't want no disturbance, right? So my husband, the day that was going back up there, he said, no, I don't want you to go out there. All his golf buddies, they went out to see the statue back up.
Okay.
And the people were crying because they say, that looks like Martin.
How about that? So just a mere absence for a period of time changed the impact, the way everybody perceived it.
Absolutely.
Well, man, we have run out of time, but I got to tell you this.
Yeah.
You are an absolute delight. You are certainly a gift to our community. I want to thank you for all that you are, all that you do, all you continue to do. And just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, you're most welcome. And I'm just ready to go again.
I know you are.
I'll go around. I prayed about that. That after I had the stroke, that I would be ready when you need to do another round.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to skate in. I'll be able to take vacation. You never know.
All right. We hope you go back. We want you to be back.
Thank you. We're
Thank
gonna do
you.
That.